All right. Hey, guys, we are live. It is Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim on his first night as official co host.
How's it going, everybody? Give myself
And
a round of applause.
there you go. And tonight we do have a special guest. We've got Mike from Mike DVD and Bluray Collection. So
Hello. Thanks for having me, guys.
you're welcome. Thanks for being
coming.
here.
Thanks for coming.
And we were talking just before we went on the air. We're probably going to lean on you and Jim tonight a lot because tonight's topic is westerns. And I know, Mike, you talk a lot about westerns on your channel, and Jim, I know you're a big fan of westerns. I was just saying that I've been reviewing movies online since '97. I have 4 westerns reviewed total on my channel. And some of them probably don't even really qualify as westerns, like Jonah Hex is one of them.
Yeah, well, I think it is. I think they do consider it.
So yeah,
Jonah Hex barely applies as a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah. So Kenny probably is even more in tune with westerns than I am. So we'll be leaning on you guys a lot. But I just wanted to, just kind of, this is just going to be a free for all about westerns. Like, how did we get into them? Because I'm learning to appreciate them more as I get older. And they were a favorite genre of my dad's, and that's probably the case for a lot of us. Our dads probably watched a lot of westerns.
Yep.
Or you were introduced to them as a kid. So we'll just sort of just shoot the shit about westerns all night, which so we can go any way it goes. If it's about westerns, it's on topic. So we'll just kind of go from there. And we'll talk to everybody in the chat. We've got Mr. Dan already in there.
Mr. Dan.
He just watched El Dorado the other night. So yeah, we'll be taking questions, talking to the people in the chat, and just talking westerns. So
sounds good.
Hopefully it'll be a great show. So Mike, before we get too started, since you're the new guy here, give us a little background on your channel, how you got into movies, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I got a channel, Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays collection. I'm getting ready to go on 5 years, I think in February, March. And I've just slowly been, chugging along at my own pace, at my own time. And I'm getting up there. I'm in the 700s as far as subscribers.
That's great. Awesome.
And I just do it at my own pace. And I don't try to climb the ladder of success, I guess you could say, overachieve on it or anything. But yeah, I cover a little bit of everything. I like all kinds of genres. I started really getting back into westerns probably 2017 or 2018. And it's funny, I've always liked westerns, but I never really, could say I know a lot about it. Like, it's all the classics, John Wayne and John Ford movies. And then I think I came across some of the, the Anthony Mann and the Jimmy Stewart westerns. And I started really, just digging those, which led to a lot of the 1950s westerns. They made tons of those. They was on TV and it was on movies. And then I started getting into stuff and slowly kind of rediscovered Randolph Scott. Got really into Randolph Scott movies and then just stuff like that. Joel McRae and John Wayne, of course. Audie Murphy movies. All the good big westerns and stuff. Some of them people don't think about much nowadays, but then everything in between. And then I started kind of getting into Italian crime movies from the 70s. They did a lot of those. It's kind of like after the spaghetti westerns kind of died down in the Italian cinema market, everybody was doing that, and then they switched to crime movies and stuff. So I kind of got into that genre, which is really cool. Plus, I like all the classics. I first got into older movies, probably I want to say maybe 89, 90. I discovered Charlie Chaplin and Akira Kurosawa and stuff like that. So I was watching kind of discovered a foreign language movie. I thought those were cool. And sorry for Doc's barking. He's trying to
Sorry.
voice us. Yeah, I got into like Charlie Chaplin and the Marx Brothers, Buster Keaton, and then just from there, I just started discovering directors and movies. Just pretty much turned into a real nerd, really reading and before the internet and everything. I've just been a lifelong fan, and then everything in between, new movies, of course. And so now that I'm older, got a family and stuff, it's I try to watch a movie a day just to kind of keep up with everything. But with streaming movies and new movies and everything, it's hard to just find what you want to watch. So I mostly watch a lot of older movies. I like the storylines and the directors, the actors back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm just a big geek about it. I love westerns though, and I'm kind of weak in my western genre as far as the 1930s, where there was a lot of B westerns, a lot of people. John Wayne got his start then and stuff. But I don't really have a lot of knowledge there, so I'm kind of slowly discovering those older movies and stuff. But I guess I consider 1939 to whenever. It's my forte is westerns and stuff. I like silent westerns even.
Oh wow!
John Ford did a bunch of those too, and so. But yeah, I like a lot of stuff. I like all kinds of stuff. Started collecting Laserdiscs at first, and then VHS, and slowly got DVDs. Here we are, 4Ks and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I love the genre a lot. Actually, I've been watching a lot of TV shows, westerns like Gunsmoke and Rifleman and stuff like that. And I'm really into those right now too. So,
did you like Deadwood?
Yeah, Deadwood I got, and I watched the first 2 discs of it, and I think after that I just kind of got sidetracked onto something else because I have so much stuff I'm trying to watch all the time. So. But yeah, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it's
a
really good show.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to finish it as soon as possible and stuff like that. So, yeah, so I'm all over the place with stuff. But yeah, I really do love westerns a lot, and they've just really. I don't know if it has anything to do with family. I mean, I remember my dad watching some westerns and stuff, but he liked mostly Planet of the Apes, Godzilla movies and stuff like that. I remember growing up with most of it. And then, I don't know, I kind of caught the bug and just really, I love learning about it. I love Hollywood history and all the technical stuff sometimes. And so, yeah, I try to be an encyclopedia sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert by any means, but.
So.
Birds of a feather. Sounds like all 4 of us.
Yeah.
A little bit of it. I guess, what is it? A man of all trades or master of none, or what is it? Something like that.
Jack of all trades,
Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack of all genres. Yeah. But yeah, that's about it. I guess that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. Awesome. Cool.
Carlos is here.
Carlos is here. Hey, Carlos. He's got a question for us loaded up already.
I was going to say, thanks. Oh, I'm sorry, Sean. I was going to say thanks to Carlos. When I met Carlos on YouTube, and Jeff at 101 Bronson, and Dan from Dan's Media Cave. My love of stuff started growing because they introduced me some stuff, and I started getting stuff from Europe, European released Blu-rays and stuff, and everything like that. Especially spaghetti westerns. I learned that grew immensely after meeting, watching some Carlos's videos and stuff like that. So yeah, big props to Carlos.
Props to Carlos. That's awesome.
Yeah, all 3 of those guys are great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it.
We got a new person joining us.
Hey, Anthony.
Oh, Anthony. Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, Anthony.
Welcome aboard. Thanks for the sub. And Mr. Dan wanted to chime in on the Rifleman. Solid show. Good guest stars.
Oh yeah, that's
That-
great.
That was Chuck
That's one I
Connors,
don't
right?
think I watch much of.
I don't know. Once you get into it, and it just you got to find that right episode, I guess,
Mhm.
and stuff. And it's kind of like foreign language movies and silent movies. You know, on the surface, you're like, I don't know if that's for me, but then you discover that right one,
Mm,
kind of opens up the door of possibilities after that. You know?
right. Yeah, I know my stepfather, he had Westerns on all the time. Like back in the 70s and early 80s, we had the afternoon movie that would be on from like 3 to 5 or just before the news would be on, and they were constantly showing Westerns, and he always had something on. And I would watch them just because there literally was nothing else on, and I had no interest in them. I would just sit there and watch them. And then you just sort of get hooked after a while. You see the same stars over and over again. You know, see John Wayne is an obvious one, but like you were saying, Randolph Scott, Audie Murphy, and you're like, oh, I remember him from that movie we saw like 6 months ago. And you know, you just start remembering people and you start putting things together. And then when you finally have an actual appreciation for him, you're like, oh, I know this guy. I've seen this before, you know?
Mhm.
And that's what I like about getting back into it, because I have like a foundation in it. I have to sort of connect all the dots of, you know, I remember this. Okay, I remember this. Oh, now I know why he was watching this, because this is good. So
Yeah.
That's why I always loved the Clint Eastwood movies in particular, because
Mhm.
he, even when they weren't necessarily Westerns, he tended to use a lot of the same people, you know, actors in his movies.
Mhm.
Like Jeffrey Lewis was in quite a few of his movies. You know, he was Orville in the 2 8 movies, Every Which Way But Loose or whatever, and
Mhm.
Any Which Way You Can.
Yep.
But he was also, you know, in a couple of the Westerns. You know, a couple of the bikers from those movies were in the Outlaw Josie Wales. You know, I mean, and when I was a kid watching those movies, I'd point them out and say, hey, I remember that guy in that Western, or I remember that guy in that, you know.
Yep.
So I totally get what you're saying on that.
Yep. Yeah, it just sort of breeds that familiarity when you start seeing those stars and you picture them in from one movie to another, and you're like, wait, I know that guy.
Yeah, that's what I like. Like Jim said, there's a lot of or Mr. Dan said, there's a lot of guest stars and stuff.
Mhm.
Now that I've watched all these movies from like the 50s and 60s, I can spot different people like Jack Elam or what's his name, Lee Van Cleef show up on a lot of episodes and shows, and like you kind of spot these people. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I got that. You know, it's pretty
Clint
cool. And then,
Eastwood.
like, yeah.
You know, he started off on Rawhide.
Yeah, Rawhide. Yeah, that I've been trying to catch that. It comes on one of my channels, and I never get to catch it very often. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Bonanza was the show that my dad used to watch all the time when I was a kid. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Had that great theme song, you know. But
Yeah.
But you know, I remember all my friends were so excited when Battlestar Galactica started, because Lauren Green was like, you know,
Yeah.
and I was like, hey, no, that's the dude from Bonanza, you know. I mean, so, yeah, love.
Well, in our generation, he was the Alpo guy too. He was
Yeah.
the
Oh,
guy
yeah.
with the Alpo with the
Yep.
commercial. You know, dumping the
I
can.
forgot about that until you just mentioned that. Holy shit!
I forgot all about that. Thanks, Kenny.
Yeah, no problem. I just remember the in the newspaper, the ads for, you know, Alpo and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Royce is a good dog.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can remember as a kid, I for a short period of time, I did have like 3 channels or 4 channels before cable, you know, early 80s and stuff. But I never really caught a lot of movies. I just remember this. But yeah, like you said, I saw those commercials and people would pop. I know Lauren Green better from Battlestar, you know, Black.
Wagon train in
Wagon
space,
train.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you are absolutely right.
Yep. Carlos had a question for us. It says, in your opinion, who played the number one gunfighter in the Western movies?
Gotta be Clint.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat Clint Eastwood.
It's gotta be Clint.
Yeah.
Lee Van Cleef, some of their showdowns and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen The Rifleman. I mean, I know it's a TV show and everything, but Chuck Connors was really good with that rifle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean that kind of, you try to do that yourself, it's really like, wow, how did you do that? It's stuff. So I don't know. I think Clint Eastwood, in my opinion, probably is just synonymous with the gunfighter, and stuff. So, 'cause I watched the other night, Hell Rider was on real late.
It's a good movie.
Great
I was
movie.
thinking about going to bed and it was on, and I was like, oh man. Even with commercials and stuff, I still stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still such a bad butt movie that it's,
Makes a good double feature with High Plains Drifter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're almost the same exact movie. Slight differences, but very similar.
Yeah. It's kind of got that little bit of a kind of like, is he a ghost? Or
Angel
something?
of Death. That's the
Angel
way
of
I
Death.
always looked at it. Was like the Angel of Death.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like with High Plains Drifter. Yeah, it's kind of.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think that one might be darker. High Plains Drifter might be a little darker.
Oh, it's a lot darker than Pale Rider.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he ain't raping nobody in Pale Rider. I mean, that part of that movie in High Plains Drifter is still pretty damn shocking.
mm-hmm.
Lee Van Cleef was a badass in that.
Yep.
Dan.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
one that came to mind was Val Kilmer in Tombstone as Doc
That's-
Holliday.
That's the one I was thinking of too when he was doing the gun strap.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the shot glass. It's
Yeah.
just so good.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's the first one that came to my mind. Was Val Kilmer.
Yeah, I thought about rewatching that the other night. I might still do that.
I love that movie so much.
I mean, there's so many good gunfighters and so many different movies. But
Henry Fonda and Once Upon a Time in the West. That's
Another one. That's another one of my personal favorites.
because that one shocked me more than anything. Just seeing Henry Fonda play a badass.
Bad guy.
Because he always plays like the most moral person on the planet, and my God, is he an evil son of a bitch in that movie?
yeah, and he did it so well. It's just like,
Excellent.
wow.
Yeah, it's such a great movie.
I like the fact that he even darkened his hair for the role too.
Mhm.
How about you, Sean? With the 4 movies that you've seen.
I've seen more than 4 westerns. With the four westerns that I reviewed on my channel.
Yeah, just don't say Josh Brolin and Jonah Hex.
No,
I mean,
no.
Josh Brolin's pretty good in like what's the one? No Country for Old Men. He's pretty good with gun in that movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
Not so
movie.
much Jonah Hex though.
No. I was going to say, if we're talking about the same thing as far as being the number one gunfighter, I would immediately go to Clint Eastwood, just because when I was growing up, seeing the Clint Eastwood movies at the drive-in, that's what I would look forward to. 2 Mules for Sister Sarah, Good, Bad, the Ugly, Pale Rider for a few dollars more, Hang 'em High, all that kind of stuff. That's what I would look forward to seeing. I don't know that I understood them when I was a little kid, but I enjoyed the action. And so when I think of a Western, the first thing I think of is Clint Eastwood, drawing a gun. That's immediately the first thing I think of. I don't think of John Wayne. I think of Clint Eastwood.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, see, I didn't even know Clint Eastwood did westerns. The first western that I seen him in was Pale Rider.
oh
And
wow.
and then my uncle's like, when we're at the video store, he goes, "Oh yeah, he's done a lot of older ones. And he was in TV shows, and I'm like, Clinty Firefox. Are we talking about the same guy? And he's like, yeah, dummy. He was in, and then I got hooked on. I think the first one I seen was Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and he goes, "This is about 8 hours long."
Right.
Like that. And he, because, he's giving it to a 10-year-old kid, and it's like, it's like about 4 hours, kid. you gonna? And I'm like, yeah. And I was up for it. I was asking them questions. I was probably annoying them by asking so many questions, but that's how you learn about stuff.
Right.
So yeah, the first one, I don't think my Uncle Jim would appreciate watching that over again, like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my dad was such a big Western fan. Like he was hooked on the theme from Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I remember I woke up in the middle of the night one time. I was probably 6, 7 years old, and I caught him in front of the TV with my tape recorder. He was trying to record the theme from the Good, the Bad,
Oh
and the Ugly
wow!
off of the TV so he could listen to it over and over and over again. And so for his birthday that year, I got him the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly theme song on 45 on vinyl. So he
Oh,
could
that's
listen to it.
cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
My dad had the vinyl soundtrack album,
Oh wow.
and I heard that album before I saw the movie, so I knew the music before I saw the movie. The first Clint Eastwood first Western I ever saw was The Outlaw Joe C. Wells, and
Oh yeah.
that was theatrically, and I was 9, and I just thought he was like the baddest man on the planet. And
Yep.
my dad was like, that music that you like so much that you listen to in the basement, you ought to see that movie with this guy, And
Yeah.
eventually I did, when it was either home video or cable, one of the two. But and my dad said the same thing that your uncle said to you, Kenny. Oh yeah, this movie's really long,
Mhm.
and I didn't care. It's my favorite Western of all time. I think the movie's a masterpiece.
Yep.
Now,
I'm
Mike,
way
what's your
overdue.
favorite Western?
Oh man. I guess depending on the day you ask me, probably Once Upon a Time in the West,
That's my favorite.
or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which I saw that first, way back, and I guess that was the first real Western that I kind of really loved to watch, rewatch it, the music, the acting, just the style, and all that. And I had it on Laserdisc back in early '90s and stuff. So I guess I don't know. It's hard to say because they're both so good, but Once Upon a Time has so much, a little bit more characters, a little bit more stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I would probably say Once Upon a Time in the West today.
Yeah, I like the Western genres too, because you don't need a whole hell of a lot of dialogue in
No.
these movies, and they just basically just the atmosphere. You got the characters and everything, and it's
Mhm.
I think it makes up for the dialogue,
hmm
Yeah.
I mean, Once Upon a Time in America, first 10 minutes they don't talk. You're
Right.
you're just all you're doing is you're like riveted to that picture. You're
Mhm.
like you're so taken in by that, everything, and it's just like,
Sergio Leone, that's like a trademark of his, though, because The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is the same way.
oh,
It
okay,
starts off and it's literally just you see a close up of the guy's face, and then another guy's face, and then it's a slow walk, and then
Mhm.
they walk into the thing, and then Eli Wallach comes flying out the window, and then it goes to the next scene, same thing. You see a kid pump it in, and the guy sits down. Lee Van Cleef sits down. And they're just looking at each other, eating stew. And nobody says shit. That's Leone. That's all
Mhm.
style, and yeah, nobody. I don't know if that's necessarily a spaghetti western trope, but it's definitely a Sergio Leone trope.
Mhm.
He was very good at that.
Yeah. He sets it up and lets it breathe and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have any patience, it's not like you got to have a ton of patience, but if something's not happening right away. You let it unfold, you get into it, and it just gets you. I think that's probably why I loved, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly so much when I first saw it, because it was just, and then the music and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Just everything just together just really pulls you in. It's like that's why he was a master director, filmmaker and stuff. It's just time and time again he made good ones and stuff.
Mr.
Yeah.
Dan has a comment about what spaghetti westerns, and this is how stupid I was about the western. I thought they literally had spaghetti in the movie, and that's why they were calling them spaghetti westerns. Because we're like watching them, and I said, "Oh, so when's the pasta come out?" My uncle just like backs me in the back of the head, and goes, "No, Ken, there's no spaghetti in these. It's the old West in the 1800s. They didn't have pasta, And so that's how stupid and naive I was about the westerns about it. It's like I thought I'm waiting for Mama Leone coming out and giving a big bowl of pasta.
Yeah.
Well, that's in the unrated cut of Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah, we didn't see that part.
It was on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Bronson comes out with some cannoli. Jason Robards has the ravioli. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been funny if, like that part, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Lee Van Cleef's eating, with that guy. He's just watching him and stuff. If he was eating spaghetti, that would have been kind of funny. But really, it was kind of, it wasn't, I don't know if it was kind of a derogatory thing back then, but because it was an Italian movie and because they thought it was cheap and blah, blah, blah or something, I think it kind of got that title. Like, I think at first it wasn't meant, it wasn't a good thing, sort of.
Right.
But it's, you know what I mean? It's grown and it's like, what you
Yeah, it was sort of a I don't want to say racist because I don't think it was quite that, but it was sort of a derogatory term. But now it's sort of a term of endearment.
Yeah, yeah. Like they had to put it somewhere in a box, so they had to put something on it to say that, But yeah,
It's one thing I was looking when I was doing a little bit of research for tonight's episode is like horror, which I am well more versed in than westerns, has so many different subgenres. Like, there's the slashers and there's the supernatural and, thrillers and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know this, and maybe you guys know, are there subgenres of westerns or are there just different types of plots and they're all just considered westerns?
yeah. I think there are some subgenres, like even in spaghetti westerns, for example. There's some that are kind of like I don't know, there's different levels, like different tiers. There's like the good ones, like you got Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and you got this other one they're good but they're not classic, and you keep on. But then there's some that are kind of got elements of like I don't know. I think there is. I mean, I don't know, Jim. What do you think? I don't.
Well, I mean, I would say that there's different genres as far as different types of westerns go. I mean, obviously, you've got comedic westerns like Blazing Saddles and stuff like that, and then you've got the spaghetti westerns. You've got musicals. I mean, way back in the day, they had the singing cowboy movies. Stuff along those lines. I don't think it has as many subgenres as say horror does. But there are some. And again, like I said, I am far from an expert on westerns. I mean, I love westerns. Okay, just like you guys. My dad watched them when I was a kid. He was into John Wayne. I was into Clint Eastwood. I don't own as many as I should. Obviously, there's so many that I would love to have that I don't. But again, I don't know enough to where I could really make the call of, okay, this one fits into this category, that one fits into that category, unless it's just something totally obvious. I could tell you the difference between Unforgiven and Blazing Saddles. I mean, you don't need to be a genius to figure that out. But like I said, Carlos and Mike, they're definitely much more well versed in this than I am. I'm a layman at best.
Yeah. Carlos has chimed in about the spaghetti westerns. He said the American critics branded them as spaghetti westerns, the Japanese named them macaroni westerns, and the Italians named them as Italian westerns and were sometimes offended.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know about the macaroni.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, I read that somewhere. Yeah. But it's funny though. You know, A Fistful of Dollars is based on Akira Kurosawa's was it Yojimbo?
Yojimbo.
Mhm.
And I think I saw Yojimbo before I ever saw Fistful of Dollars, which is really it's kind of cool because then you can kind of see. But it's totally a tribute to him. You know, I remember Sergio Leone got in trouble for they just really took the script and just did it. They didn't get it okayed by the writers of Yojimbo, so they kind of got in trouble at first. But and that's been a concept to a lot of westerns. You know, a gunfighter comes to town and helps out maybe two opposing sides of the town. You know, they're controlling sides of dominance of the town or something, and that's been like a trope, I guess, or storyline that many westerns.
Mhm.
So yeah, Yojimbo's big influence, and even though it's a samurai movie, it's not a horse opera, I guess you could say.
Right.
You can still see it. Toshiro Mifune doing Clint Eastwood's role basically with a sword. So it's, but yeah, I think I saw that first because like I saw Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for years, and I had never seen the first two, Fistful and For a Few Dollars More, of that trilogy. And it's funny, I ended up seeing Yojimbo before I even saw those two. So I thought that was kind of funny in my development and learning of stuff.
Right.
That's okay. I saw Battle Beyond the Stars before I saw The Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, and then well, again with that one, Magnificent Seven was based on
Seven Samurai,
Seven Samurai and stuff. And but I think in that case, I did see Magnificent Seven first, and then I saw Seven Samurai later. But
yeah. I saw Battle Beyond the Stars first, then I saw The Magnificent Seven, and then I finally saw Seven Samurai. And Seven Samurai is an incredible film. I mean, it's just I've only seen Yojimbo once, and unfortunately, I don't own that. But I do, of course, own For a Fistful of Dollars, and Last Man Standing was also Yojimbo. Is just brought up to be gangsters.
Yeah,
and on that one, Bruce Willis is playing the Clint Eastwood part.
Yeah, Walter Hill directed that, and he was a big fan, obviously.
I could make the argument that at least 3/4 of Walter Hill's filmographies are westerns. They're just not. They're just not called westerns. Extreme Prejudice for sure. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that movie, but that is literally like a modern day western. It's even got the standoff between the sheriff and the bad guy at the end. I mean, it doesn't it wears it right on its sleeve. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I think I saw an interview with him, Walter Hill, once, and he did say that. He said, I think most of my movies, besides like maybe, I don't know, Streets of Fire or I don't know, there's still you got that premise, you got the opposing sides and stuff. But yeah, a lot of his movies really are westerns. He's big at heart. He's
Western tropes.
Yeah.
Carlos has a question for us. Do you guys think that westerns are dying style, an old-fashioned style of filmmaking?
I think they're actually trying to come back because you see there's certain people out there that like Costner, Tom Selleck, Sam Elliott. I mean, these guys have been trying to bring back the Western for a long time, and I mean, Jim had brought up about Deadwood. That was a terrific series on HBO. It's probably 15 years old now.
Probably closer to 20.
20. Yeah. Okay, so it's like there's been like Justified. They're trying to come with them. It's just the whole point of just the time and the certain people. I mean, look at DiCaprio's. One of his first movies was Quick and the Dead,
which I love.
It's a great movie.
That's a great. Russell Crowe's great in that movie.
Everybody's great in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
But it's just that, and that was another one. I mean, because remember in the '90s they started they did they did Bad Girls. Remember they had the Andy McDowell and Drew Barrymore, like the
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
the four girls, and I mean they were trying like Tombstone, Wyatt Earp. They all came out at the same time, and it's sort of like a Hollywood copycats everything,
Mhm.
And it's like if there's something hot, they'll just jump onto it. Because I remember in '80, remember when Vice Versa came out, the
Oh, yeah.
Judge Reinhold movie,
Oh yeah.
Like Father Like Son came out,
Big.
right after that. So they were just big, yeah. So it was
Mhm.
like whatever is hot or what's on people's palates right now,
Yeah.
they'll just jump into. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, I think when Clint Eastwood, they did Unforgiven in '92 and it won Best Picture and all that, Hollywood was like, hey, that's and that's you saw that big boom of westerns.
And it
there.
made a shitload of money too,
Yeah.
Yep.
because
It's a-
people are out there just looking for something intelligent to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Dances with Wolves a couple of years before that as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I was gonna say.
Which I love Dances with Wolves, okay? But I still am, for 34 years now, I'm still pissed off that won Best Picture over Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
Goodfellas to me is like one of those perfect movies,
Yep.
but I won't go on a tangent here. But,
Well, yeah. Yeah, Scorsese's been robbed a few times, quite a few
Yeah.
times actually. So.
Yeah, I mean, Goodfellas, like I said, it's probably one of my top 5 movies of all time. And it just, and again, nothing against Dances with Wolves. It's a great movie, but
Yeah. Well, that's
jump
those
ahead
years.
35 years and ask people which one is more relevant or which one is more remembered, and I guarantee Goodfellas would win that contest without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
What's the old litmus test? Like Mike did the other night. You'll stay with the movie even through commercials. He watched Power Rider. I mean, would you sit through 4 hours with commercials of Dances with Wolves? I wouldn't, but I would.
I won't sit through 4 hours with commercials with anything at this point.
Well, Kenny, Dances with Wolves would probably be 6 hours with commercials.
Okay,
It's
exactly.
long,
Yeah, I loved Dances with Wolves when it came out in the theater. I thought it was fantastic. I would have given it 5 out of 5 stars. I think I've seen it once since then. Goodfellas, I've seen probably 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
it's just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the comments I wanted to make too about Carlos's question about Westerns being a dying style, I think they're kind of morphing too, because we've had movies. You mentioned No Country for Old Men, and I was going to bring up Hell or High Water, and then Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Some people consider those as Westerns in a way, because they take place out in the West and they have sort of that backdrop to them. I can't argue in favor or against, because I haven't seen either show. But with Hell or High Water or No Country for Old Men, I know those are definitely Westerns, and they're not your typical, like Mike, you said, a horse opera type thing, but they're definitely Westerns, and they're definitely modern Westerns. So maybe they're not the typical traditional Western, but maybe it's just morphing into a different type of film that's more quote unquote modern, even though it's not necessarily in your face. This is a Western with cowboys and Indians and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned Hell or High Water. That's Taylor Sheridan. That's the guy who did Yellowstone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Yellowstone is still huge.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's kind of where your Westerns are going, is like streaming series and things along those lines. The Costner movie that came out and bombed real bad recently, which I still haven't seen, even though it's available on Max.
I haven't seen it either.
Oh, Horizon.
I heard it's good. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. I haven't watched it all yet, though. I started to watch it. I started getting interrupted. And I was like, man, I'll watch it later when I can just focus on it, because it's like 3 hours long.
Yeah,
too.
3.5 hours long, and it's like part 1.
And Spark
Yeah.
won it. Yeah.
So
But I have to give it to Kevin Costner, though. I mean, he has kept the Western alive in different
absolutely.
Oh,
decades
yeah.
and stuff. He's been a, plus he was in a really good movie, Open Range, with
Yes.
Robert Duvall and
Yeah,
stuff. And he was
great movie.
really good in that movie. And I think I like him best in Westerns, Kevin Costner. I mean, there's some other movies that he's good in too, but I think I like him best.
My favorite Costner Western is still Silverado. And most,
Yeah.
and most people don't like him in Silverado. They say that he's too, hyper and this and that and the other. I think he's great in that movie. I think that movie is awesome. I love Silverado.
Yeah, that's one that I don't watch enough of. I have it, but I forget about it, I guess, sometimes.
It's just so much fun.
I got to add that to my list. I haven't seen that one.
Oh.
Yeah, and I hadn't even watched Yellowstone yet. I know everybody likes it and stuff, and I usually wait a while before I jump, after it's died down and stuff. And I know it's a series. There's so many series I've tried to start, and I can't finish it, like Deadwood and stuff.
Yeah.
Want to watch it. Like I started Band of Brothers. It's a good series. And I got halfway through it, and I get stopped for some reason and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, my wife and I, we kind of blew through the 4.5 seasons of Yellowstone in, I think, like 2 months. We would watch like multiple episodes a day, and it's good, but it gets kind of ridiculous when you binge it like that, because it's like how much can this family literally endure? Like, there's one character that I feel like she gets blown up like every other episode, or lit on fire or something. And it's probably once per season, but it just seems like it's all the time. And I've heard that Kevin Costner's not coming back for the end of the 5th season, so I don't know how they're going to pull that off. But it's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not highbrow stuff. It's entertaining, but I like Taylor Sheridan's movies better than Yellowstone. But you can see where he came from the movies, like Hell or High Water or Wind River, stuff like that.
Doesn't he also do Tulsa King too?
I
With,
believe.
Stallone?
I don't know. If does
Yeah,
he?
Stallone's in that. I'm not sure if he does.
I know Stallone's in that. I don't know if he might be.
Let me check it out, because if that Tulsa King has a feeling of a Western.
Did any of you guys ever watch Firefly when it was on 20 years?
Oh yeah,
I missed that the whole
and
Lost. I never did watch Lost either. So
well, Firefly was only on for like half a season because Fox screwed the pooch on it so bad.
Yeah,
but that was literally a Western in space. I mean,
it was.
And Serenity, the movie that followed up on it is good. But that TV show, Mike, I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance,
it's great.
Check it out. There's only like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal. It was such a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's funny as well.
Sheridan is the creator and the writer of Tulsa King.
And that guy is like making bank, man.
Yeah.
He's got stuff up. He's got fingers and lots of pies.
Sicario too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Both
Sicario movies.
Both of them are, yeah.
I haven't seen the second one. I like the first one a lot.
First one's better, but the second one is really good. And Benicio del Toro is like phenomenal.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, the scene with the family around the table.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's phenomenal.
Shit. Yeah. The tension on that table was just like, go ahead, eat. Oh man. I literally got goosebumps on my arms just thinking about that scene.
What was the first Western you guys remember seeing? Because I said that Outlaw Josie Wales was definitely mine. Do you remember what your first Western was?
Don't laugh at me. Hot Lead and Cold Feet with Tim Powell.
I won't laugh at you. I saw that thing at the drive-in myself.
It was a double bill. It was Hot Lead and Cold Feet, and then the sequel, the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Apple Dumpling Gang and the Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again. Yeah,
and it was like those were the first three, but like real one, I would say probably like Support Your Local Sheriff with Jim Garner, James Garner.
James Garner, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was my mom's guy. My mom loved James Garner, So that was the first TV show that we actually sat and like really watched was Maverick.
Yeah.
She loved James Garner.
Yeah, my mom loved Sam Elliott. I think a lot of moms liked Sam Elliott back then, but I think Kenny, the first one I saw was Apple Dumpling Gang too. I think that was the first Western I saw back in the day. Don Knotts and Tim
The
Conway.
shakiest gun in the West.
Yeah, Shakiest Gun, and I may have seen Rides Again also. It could have been Rides Again or the first one.
I remember seeing the drive, and it was the Apple Dumpling Gang, and then it might have been the Apple Dumpling Gang too. But it was like those three all kind of like bunch in together for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did see those, but I don't think they were first. I think the first one I saw was probably Two Mules for Sister Sarah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Nice
probably the first one.
What are you doing to that dog, Mike?
Yeah, one of the other dogs walked by me, barks. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, Mr. Dan, the Maverick movie was really good too. I seen it in the theater.
Yeah, Mel Gibson.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah, I recently got that for the first time. I think I missed it back in the 90s when it first came out, and I've got it in a pile to watch and stuff. So
you'll enjoy that one.
Yeah. But you know, back in like the mid 90s, there were some really good westerns out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Maverick, and you know, that was a good time for movies. Tombstone and all those around that time period. You know. And,
now, would you guys classify The Man with the Golden Mask a western?
I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what
Man
that movie
with the
is.
Golden Mask.
Yeah, wasn't that the one with DiCaprio?
Oh, The Man in the Iron Mask.
Man, the Iron Mask.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, that's not a western.
No. Okay.
No, that's
It's not like in Spain.
that's history.
That's like the French Revolution or something like that.
Yeah.
That's why I said we're leaning heavy on Jim and Mike.
Yeah.
The Man with the Golden Mask. I was thinking the James Bond Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those. I was thinking of an Asian
I'm
movie
on my
too.
own little island, you know. Probst is gonna snuff my tiki torch.
Young Guns 3s is in develop. You know, the original Young Guns is a lot of fun. I don't like the second one. And if they did a third one, it would have to be with a whole new cast because those guys aren't so young anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
Old Guns.
What'd you guys think about the City Slicker movies? I know it's like talked about comedies a little bit.
The first one was great.
The first one's a classic.
Yeah.
Jack Palance makes the first one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, because he basically played the same character that he always plays in those movies, but because he's playing it straight, that's what's funny about it. You know, kind of like Leslie Nielsen when he was in Airplane. You know, he played it straight, and everybody around him made it funny. Or Naked Gun, I should say, not Airplane.
Well, maybe even in Airplane too. I mean,
yeah,
to a certain degree. Yeah.
To a certain degree, yeah.
There's one line in City Slickers that still sticks with me to this day. When before they went on the trip, and Billy Crystal's character was trying to convince the two guys to go with him, and he goes, "Did you ever peak when you were 19?" He goes, "That's as good as your life is going to ever get." He goes, "So let's do this," and that's always that's always stuck with me because if you think when you were 19, you didn't have no bills, you didn't have nothing going on, and it was like this is the best your life is going to get, and then you know you guys have a family, you guys got kids, you got bills, you got a mortgage, and then everything piles on top of you, and he goes like, "Why not? Why can't we do this?" You know. Yep. Because at that point they were all married, had kids. One was divorced. One was a playboy in the Bruno Kirby part. You know, so it was just like that. Always stuck in my head that line. Still does today.
Yeah. Well, I brought that up because of. I'm sorry about my coffee. but I brought that up because of like the genre, like the subgenre of like comedic westerns. You know, like even in Italian westerns, spaghetti westerns, that's a subgenre within. I'm not really like a fan of all comedic westerns. It has to be something for me to get. I really like a more serious western movie, or you know. But yeah, recently I watched City Slickers, so I thought, yeah, you know, and it was a big hit and everything back then, and that was early on in the '90s and everything and stuff. So it was,
I think a comedic western that doesn't get talked about a lot that I really enjoy, and it's not Blazing Saddles, is The Frisco Kid with Gene Wilder and Harrison
yeah.
Ford.
Like,
I love that movie.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen
one.
that movie in 40 years, and that's the first thing I thought of when going off that damn cliff. Oh, you
Yep.
see it! Oh, the wall! Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie, and that's one of the things we were talking about. Scenes with no dialogue. There's a scene in that movie where Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford are just sitting around a campfire, eating beans out of a pot or can or something, and it's literally there's no dialogue, and that's one of my favorite scenes from a western ever. It's literally just the atmosphere and the ambiance of them just sitting around the campfire with the campfire crackling, and I think you can hear the horse in the background, and the night, the crickets in the background and stuff, and it's just like, wow, I wonder what it would be like to live like that, just out in the desert, traveling across country, camping out under the stars, just eating, being totally by yourself. And that just, I don't know, it's a super relaxing scene for me.
I thought when you started talking, I was thinking about the Blazing Saddles scene where they're all sitting around eating beans.
Yeah, that's the polar opposite of that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite part of that scene in Blazing Saddles is before you actually see them fart, the camera pans over on the barbed wire fence, and there's a sign hanging on it that says "Knock before entering."
Well, see, now that I think about it, man, Blazing Saddles, maybe I saw Blazing Saddles first, because I know I saw that really young. I know I did, and so it's either one of those two. But I remember Blazing Saddles as, but I always looked at it as more, it was comedic. It was
It's a comedy.
Fun of it. Yeah, kind of put what is it? Kind of making fun of it a little bit.
Parody.
A parody of it.
Yeah.
Stuff, so
yeah, that's a movie that I was totally talking it up to my wife. I'm like, oh, this movie's hilarious. And we started watching it, and it went over like a lead balloon with my wife because she had never seen it. And the comedy doesn't age well if you're not prepared for it and you're kind of PC, which my wife could be described as, sort of. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was like, "This isn't funny." And I was like, "Well, it's from its time. You had to be there."
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I know a lot of people that feel that same way and stuff. But I don't know. I always looked at it because Richard Pryor was one of the writers and stuff, and it was Cleavon Little. They all kind of joined in with Mel Brooks to write it and stuff. So it wasn't just one-sided and stuff.
Right.
And I really loved Richard Pryor when I was little too, because he was all over the place. And
right.
And stuff.
Yeah, Mel Brooks wrote the dialogue from Cleavon Little, and Richard Pryor wrote all the dialogue from the white people.
Oh,
because seriously, because Mel Brooks
awesome.
said that he didn't even like writing the word nigger down, the N-word down as a joke. He was uncomfortable about it. And anybody who's ever seen Richard Pryor's stand-up knows he has absolutely no problem with that word.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And he was supposed to be the star of that movie. And the studio wouldn't cover him because they thought he was too much of an insurance risk. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. When I was little, I grew up with like the kind of humor, like, had Eddie Murphy and George Carlin and Richard Pryor and stuff. And, and as a little kid, it's like, you don't go around repeating all these stuff they're talking about, but it's funny and where they're coming from with it. We're kind of making fun of each other. We're kind of just
It's all about intent.
Yeah, and
You know.
I don't know. It is a different time now to introduce something like that. It doesn't go over well, but it's kind of like a joke. If you're in on it, you get it, but
Mhm.
if not, it may come off differently or something. But
Right.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
one of those movies, you know. But there's so
Yeah,
much more to it. Other little
Right.
things, because if you watch a lot of like movies from the 50s and 60s, that's kind of what they were making fun of. Like a lot
Mhm.
of those kind of movies. Slim Pickens is in it, and
Yep.
so it's a lot of in jokes that
Right.
you may not get if you haven't seen a lot of
Right.
that stuff.
And I think that a lot of that is where my wife was kind of not, you know, she never watched a lot of westerns to begin with, like we all did when we were growing up, and she didn't have an exposure to them, and so she didn't get that aspect of it. She also didn't know the background, and sort of, I think she kind of believed there was more weaponization of more of the jokes than there probably was. So yeah, it just did not go over well. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a little intense, but very liberal with certain words and stuff. But, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. It's I guess it's hard to explain in a way. It's
yeah,
like I don't think I could sell that movie to somebody now that's
Mm-mm.
younger and doesn't. It's like, tell me about this movie in 30 seconds. You know,
right,
sell this movie to me, and I'd be like, how? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it. I made my. He was 17 at the time, so yeah, my 17-year-old stepson. I got him to watch it.
Oh, really?
He had never heard of it, and I told him flat out at the beginning was, "There's going to be some jokes in this movie. They're going to just shock the shit out of you. Do not be offended. Just watch."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the first 5 minutes of the movie, he was like, "Holy shit!" You know, I mean, he couldn't believe what he was watching. You know,
Yeah.
but he got the joke pretty damn
Yeah.
quick. You know, and by the end of the movie, he was like, "You know what? That movie would never be made today."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm glad it was made back then because it's funny as hell."
Mhm.
And that's made me so proud. It made me so proud. There's hope for the future.
Yeah, I don't even think they would have made that in the 90s. Maybe not even in the 80s.
No, that movie wouldn't have even flown in the 80s.
Yeah,
because in the 80s it was all about tit jokes.
Right.
Yeah,
You can get away with that.
yeah.
You know, you can get away with all the rape jokes and this and that and the other, but you couldn't get away with the race stuff there, unless it was like a black guy and a white guy, like in 48 Hours. Okay, Nick Nolte is saying the N-word constantly to Eddie Murphy, you know, keeping him down. But then they got that flip side scene where Eddie Murphy's in the redneck bar.
Yep.
And he turns the tables on them. That would fly. But there's a lot of that in Blazing Saddles, but because Blazing Saddles is such a shocking movie, people don't really look at it that way. You know, they're too busy hung up on the language.
Right.
So, you know, we're talking about Blazing Saddles again. See what happens when I'm here?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, it's one of those movies, man. It's just like, you know, it's raunchy and it's not PC, but I think if you're a Western fan, like of a lot of genre or a lot of decades, you'll really get it and everything. But
yeah, my sister and my niece hate Westerns.
Mm.
I mean, I couldn't get them to watch a Western if I tried. They both loved Blazing Saddles because to them, it wasn't a Western. It was just a comedy. You know, and that's how I would sell it to somebody who doesn't like Westerns. Hey, you don't necessarily have to see Westerns. If you have, a lot of the jokes will, you know, the Randolph Scott joke, you know. We were talking last time, guys, about how I watch people react to Blazing Saddles. Okay.
Yeah.
That is the one joke nobody gets.
Yeah.
If you're under the age of 50, you do not get that joke.
Right.
Online, you know, that I've seen. I mean, it's every time they're like, "Who the hell's Randolph Scott?"
Yeah, yeah. I like heard that for 100 times, and then finally I discovered Randolph Scott's movies. And
yeah. Actually,
okay,
I didn't see any of his movies until after I saw Blazing Saddles too. So
yeah. What's weird is, you know, he's not like as big as say John Wayne now in people's memory banks, but
Mm-mm.
back in the 50s and stuff when he was doing those, he was like consistently the top money draw.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like every year he had to he was in the top 5, making the most money box office or whatever and stuff. And it's funny how that happens. You know?
Speaking of John Wayne, are you a fan of his westerns?
Oh yeah, I like John Wayne.
Do you have a favorite?
I always go with I'm thinking Rio Bravo more these days, but I don't know. There's so many good ones. You know, like I even started to become a bigger fan of Hondo. And, one of my absolute favorite John Wayne movies is Tall in the Saddle.
I've never seen that one.
Oh, it is so good. It is just so good, and it's not his most popular movie, and it's got Gabby Hayes in it. It's got different stuff, and it's oh man, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. It's a great. It's almost I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's hard to you have to watch it and stuff. And
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
It's serious, but it's got this line of humor running through this the whole time. But it doesn't stop to be a comedy. You kind of pick up on little things. John Wayne is like his personality in it. There's a woman in there, Ella Raines. She was in a lot of 40s movies and stuff, and they're kind of going at it a lot. You know, kind of like she's kind of a tomboy, and I don't know. You just have to watch it. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's just I don't know. It's so good.
Cool.
To me, I don't know. I just love it. It's just got that perfect amount of comedy and western seriousness, and it moves by quick. It goes by. You know, it's a fast movie, and I don't know.
No, good deal. I just wrote that one down. Thank you. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, you should check it out. I think it's from 1946.
Yeah, I'll IMDb it. Check it out.
Something like that. Yeah.
How about you guys? Do you like John Wayne?
I've watched a lot of John Wayne, and probably not nowhere near as much as you guys, but I do have a favorite. It would be the Cowboys.
That's a good one too.
What is it? 72?
72. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's early 70s. I know that.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just really like that one with Bruce Dern.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, I think it's one of the only times he gets. Well, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it, but something happens to him in that movie that never happens to him.
Exactly.
So, and that was a big shock, except for maybe the Shootist.
I was going to say up until the Shootist, and I think that's the only other one.
Yeah.
No, a lot of his 70s ones are really good. Like Big Jake is good, and what's the other one? There's some good ones. He's got, and then he did those 2 cop movies, which I talked about recently, and which was kind of like he was just out of place, but they're entertaining. But it's like if he would have done those about maybe 10, 15 years earlier, I think they would have been. He would have been better as a cop. Like if he would have done like a film noir or something, like as a detective or something, you know, it'd been kind of cool. But he never did do that, you know. So.
Yeah, mine is She Wore a Yellow Ribbon.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, there's just so many good ones. He's done so many of them, but a couple of them really stand out. Like I love watching Rio Bravo. It's really good. And of course, The Searchers. You know, The Searchers, and I used to always say The Searchers, but then I started catching Rio Bravo more. So I might just say Rio Bravo. I don't know. He's done too many good ones that it's hard to, you know.
Yeah, mine would probably either be Rio Bravo or True Grit, because I love
True Grit.
both. I love both of those movies.
Yeah, True Grit.
And Big Jake. Recently. You mentioned Big Jake. I really like Big Jake as well. Yeah. That one was on cable a lot when I was a kid, and I watched that one. Rio Bravo, Rio Lobo, and Big Jake were the 3 that were constantly on the movie channel when I was a kid.
Mm. Yeah,
Rooster Cogburn was on HBO all the time. I used to watch that a lot too.
I like Rooster Cogburn, but True Grit's better.
Yeah,
it's definitely a better movie.
Yeah, much better. And he's similar, like Tall in the Saddle, but if you kind of like that humor of True Grit, where he's kind of serious, but he's kind of being kind of funny, and you love his character. You know, you love that. you can see his humor and stuff in it and everything. That's really good. And he won an Oscar, didn't he, for that?
For True Grit, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm looking at Dan's comment. I never heard of this.
I
I
never
never
heard
heard
of
of
that
him.
one either.
John Wayne was in a horror western?
Yeah, he did like a series of those. Like,
Really?
low,
Wow.
like I call them cheapy westerns, but
I
you know,
am
they were like
definitely writing that down.
Mr.
low B's and stuff. And he
Mr.
did a
Dan, is
bunch
that one of those
30s.
ones that you'll find on those like 20 John Wayne movies for $10 packs?
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea. That's interesting. I'm going to check into that for sure.
Well,
Oh.
his Otis one did. Yeah, you seen the Big Trail? I did a video about that.
Yeah,
that was,
yeah.
That was 1930, and I thought he was just excellent in it. He's really good. That movie. I don't know. It's for being so old as it is.
And Jim, it's only 58 minutes long too.
Nice.
But yeah, he did a whole bunch of those, like Haunted Gold and a bunch of those.
It's very goofy. It's 1 hour long.
Perfect. Just perfect for my attention span.
Yep.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, it's not on YouTube though.
He said he thinks he watched it on Tubi.
Oh, Kenny's
Yeah.
channel sponsor.
I know it wasn't on there because that was the first thing I looked on too.
Yeah. It's funny though, in the 30s, they always wore the big old, like 50-gallon hat,
Yeah.
cowboy hats,
Yeah.
big ones and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. Some of those are not my favorite cowboy hat, but you know,
Yeah,
and that changed in the 40s and everything. You know,
Yeah, it looks like Carlos is a fan of the Cowboys as well.
Yep.
yeah, it's
It is. It's a good movie. Bruce Dern, Bruce Dern was great when he was young. I mean, he's still great, but when he was young, especially when he was playing bad guys.
Mhm.
You guys ever see Tattoo? It's totally unrelated to westerns, but you ever see Tattoo?
No.
I
Mm-mm.
don't think so.
That
He
is
was pretty.
that is a crazy ass movie where
He
he
was-
is a
he was really good.
photographer.
Was that
No, I'm
Paul
sorry.
Adams?
Yes, he's a tattoo artist
I heard of it, but I never seen it.
who does like temporary tattoos on Maud Adams because she's a model for a photo shoot, and he becomes obsessed by her, and he kidnaps her and tattoos her whole body. And the movie itself is real exploitive and it's not very good, but he is creepy as hell in that movie. I mean, real creepy. So if you get a chance to check that out,
It's
check that out.
nowhere streaming. I don't even think it's released out on the
Scream Factory was supposed to release a
Oh, okay.
Blu-ray for it a while back, and for whatever reason, they didn't. They
Yeah,
announced it. They had a release date, the whole 9 yards, and then at the last minute, they kind of canceled it.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I was going to say Bruce Dern's really good in the Wild Angels. It's one of those like
Corman.
I think it's 66. And,
That's a Corman movie.
A Corman movie, yeah. And
Yep.
he's really good in that. He's
And
good in
going
lots
back
of
to
stuff.
Westerns, The Hateful Eight. He's great in The Hateful Eight,
Mhm.
which Hateful Eight, I don't think gets enough love. Did you guys like that movie?
I did like that.
I
Because-
liked it. I liked it, but it's not one of my like go-to Tarantino movies. Like,
Oh, me neither.
stuff.
Me
And
neither.
I saw it in the theater. I got to see it on the road when they were doing that road show thing.
So did I. It was
We'll see you,
awesome.
Carlos.
70 millimeter.
Yeah, 70 millimeter.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks so much, Carlos.
Yeah, thank you.
See
You're
you,
awesome,
Carlos.
buddy.
Yep. See you, Carlos.
I'll be sending you an audio tomorrow, bud.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike.
Me and Carlos
Oh,
been doing
no.
those face-offs again. So sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, I got to see it, and I think I liked it better watching it in the theater, actually. And you know, it was still long. It was a longer movie and stuff. I liked it in the theater, and I don't know. I do like it. I like it a lot, but I don't always want to watch it. If that makes sense. You know, it's like I don't know.
It's the only Tarantino film I have not seen.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
I own it. I just haven't watched it yet.
No, that movie is great mainly because of the cast. It is such a great cast.
Jennifer
And
Jason Lee is great.
I was going to say Jennifer Jason
Damn,
Leigh.
she's great.
Mm-hmm.
She was nominated for it, and she should have won. She
Yeah.
is so good. But
Yeah.
the MVP of that movie to me is Walton Goggins.
Yes.
I think he
Oh, yeah.
is
I
friggin'
like him.
amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
And that's like the last Ennio Morricone score as well.
Mhm.
Oh,
He
really?
passed away. Yeah, he passed away right after he finished that score.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good movie. You know, I mean, it's a Western. It's definitely more of a Western than Django is. Okay, because Django technically was a Western, but that movie, you know, that movie was a lot of things. Okay,
Right.
Mhm.
Hateful Eight is just it's a flat out Western.
Okay.
Just
And
and the scenery in it,
yeah,
Sean.
I
It's
mean,
just
for the most
amazing.
part, it's a single location, but the beginning with the tracking shots going through the mountains and stuff. Oh yeah, it's especially theatrically. Like Mike was saying, I saw the roadshow version too, and yeah, it looked beautiful
Mhm.
theatrically. It really did.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's,
Sean, check that out.
Okay.
You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, after I get through October, because I'm doing my Halloween thing, I will put it on my
Mhm.
list.
Yeah, nothing but horror for me for the next month
Yep.
too. Starting
Yeah.
next week.
I think that's what I'm gonna do too. I got some movies picked out. I think I might start watching them now to kind of get a jump on my Halloween movies and stuff. 'Cause
Yep.
I got some new stuff to watch.
That's the thing. Everybody does like horror stuff, and like you get like all intense with like the new shows coming on, and new streaming shows coming on, and it's just like when do you have time for everything? You have to
Yeah.
watch everything, you know.
That's the
Yeah.
problem. I have no time, so I have to definitely focus on one thing.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy because there's so much out there. Because I was telling Sean I just because the Phillies clinched on Sunday, but on Friday night they were on Apple TV. So I got a free 7 day subscription to Apple TV, and I wanted to watch this Monarch show, the Godzilla show that was on. So I've been binge watching that, you know, and it's just like, and then my uncle's like, "Hey kid, we got to watch Tulsa King." So it's like, "Oh yeah, Tulsa King's on," and it's just like, you know, there's like just so much everything. You know,
I'm so far behind on everything. It ain't funny.
it's crazy, isn't it, Jim? It's
Yeah.
nuts.
I am going to watch the new Salem's Lot though next week or whatever when it shows up on Max because
It's
I
on
wanted
Max,
to see
yeah.
that at the theater, you know, and it got pushed back for a year or whatever. And I don't care if it's a piece of shit or not. I want to see it. You
Yeah,
know?
I want to see that.
Well,
too.
that was like the same with the Omen. The Omen's on the Peacock or something like that. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
why I haven't seen it yet because I don't
Yeah.
have Peacock.
Oh, okay.
The first Omen.
Yeah,
no,
the
they
new
have
one.
a new.
The new
yeah,
one.
they have a new one.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
called The First Omen. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. Yeah.
Dusty's Trail. I'm a fan of Dusty Hill
Yeah.
from ZZ Top.
Dusty's Trail.
Dusty's Trail. What is Dusty's Trail, Patrick?
I have to look it up.
See, Patrick, he'd definitely be there to stump us on something Western related.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Have Gun Will Travel reference or something.
Yeah.
We're not
No
doing
Cowtober.
Oh, Dusty's Trail. I got it right here. With Bob Denver and Forrest Tucker.
Okay, I know both of those actors, but
It is on.
never heard of the movie.
It was 27 episodes. It's available on my favorite, Tubi.
Oh, it was a show.
Yeah, a station wagon heading west gets separated from the rest of the wagon train thanks to Dusty. Now they must make their way to California. And it was a TV series 73-74 called Dusty's Trail.
No, that's why I don't remember it. I was like 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
3.
As a matter of fact, the only thing I know Forrest Tucker from is
F Troop.
F Troop, yeah. Because I used to watch reruns of F Troop a lot.
Yeah. He was in a lot of westerns too, though. He was in a lot of Randolph Scott movies.
Yeah, my parents always knew him from the westerns and stuff. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, there's Dusty's Trail. From 73 to 74.
Yeah. No, I never heard of it. Good pull, Patrick.
Yeah, that was a really good pull, dude. I had never heard of that.
Let's see.
There he
Oh,
is.
boy.
See, I mean, That's Gilligan. That's the only thing I've ever seen Bob Dylan or Bob. Oh, that and Dobie Gillis. I'm sorry, I forgot about
Yeah.
Dobie Gillis.
Oh, yeah,
Dobie
Dobie,
Gillis.
yeah.
And then Forrest Tucker, I remember seeing him from F Troop, and wasn't he on some sort of Ghostbusters show on Saturday mornings?
Could be. Because I used to get Forrest Tucker confused with the guy from McHale's Navy.
Yeah, he was on the real Ghostbusters or something like that, wasn't
Something
it?
like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those.
See, Patrick, you sent us way off the rails here.
Yep.
There's an early 70s Western
There
I
it
want
is.
to watch. It's called Evil Roy Slade, and it's got the guy from the Addams Family. I think it was a TV movie back in early 70s.
Let's check it out.
I've
What's
been,
it called? Evil Roy Slade?
Evil Roy Slade. I've been getting around to try to watch that.
John Aston.
Yeah, John Aston. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And it's a comedy, so I don't know what to expect with it. But
1972.
Yeah, you guys are doing some deep dives here.
Yeah, dude, I never heard of this one before.
yeah, it's got a lot of people in it.
That was a TV movie. I remember watching that at my grandma's house one night.
Excuse me.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but I'm gonna watch it. I found it really cheap at like a Dollar General store or something.
It sounds fun.
Yeah, it's got Mickey Rooney and all kinds of people. Milton Berle,
Dick Shawn.
Don DeLuise.
Dick Shawn. There's a guy that was really funny.
Yeah.
Dick
Oh, yeah.
Shawn.
He was great in The Producers.
Yes, he was.
He was so funny in The Producers.
He was so good. But he was on a Sid and Marty Krofft show in the 70s that I used to watch too. I can't remember. See that, Patrick? You're sending us into dive territory.
They're throwing us off.
Yeah, you get the 4 movie nerds together and throw out a biscuit of trivia, and then away we go.
No good can come of this.
No. Yeah, then we'll be talking about Transformers or something in 10 minutes.
Oh, God. I'll be ducking out at that point. I've only seen the first Transformers movie. I've never seen any of the others.
I was talking about the toys, not the movie.
I've never had any of the toys. So,
Yeah.
my grandson's begging me to take him to the cartoon, and I'm like, I took you to see Godzilla. I'm not taking you to see Transformers. So, no. I draw the line,
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that one back in the 80s in the theater.
Oh, the animated one?
Oh, the animated one?
Hmm.
Yeah, I was working at the video store when that one hit the video store. I remember because kids were constantly coming in for it.
Yeah, I was like 10, I think, 10 or 11 when it came out.
I think I was a senior in high school when that came out, and still some of the people I went to school with, they came in after seeing it and they were like heartbroken after watching it, and I was just like, seriously?
Yeah, it was.
I used to enjoy watching kids argue over GoBots and Transformers, which ones were better and shit. And I just sit there and laugh, be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, GoBots and Transformers. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love Gunsmoke, Patrick.
Yeah, we kind of touched on Gunsmoke a little bit at the beginning of the show. You might have missed it, Patrick, but we did talk about it a little bit. I know that and Bonanza were on like repeat at my grandma's house. I was talking about Evil Roy Slade at my grandma's house. That was my other grandma. She constantly had movies on at her house, but my mom's mom had TV series on all the time. It was either Lawrence Welk, Bonanza, or Gunsmoke, always on.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, or Little House on the Prairie. That was.
Oh yeah, Little House on the Prairie was huge. My mom loved that.
I hated that friggin' show even when I was a kid. I mean, because that was like that show was big, at the time. And Oh,
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it.
And the Waltons.
yeah.
Oh God, that was even worse.
Yeah.
I like the Waltons.
I hated the Waltons, especially the whole "Good night, John Boy. Good night, Ma. Good night, Dad. Good night, Dad."
We used to do that in our house.
Oh,
We
you
used
do
to,
because we had 5
you know,
kids, and it was the same shit, and it was like, oh my God, just I want to go to sleep.
Did you guys ever see any of the Wanted Dead or Alive with Steve McQueen?
Oh yeah.
I want to get into that one. I haven't never seen any episodes of it, but I want to get into that eventually.
Yeah, that TV show was much better than the movie that loosely inspired it with Rutger Hauer and Gene Simmons. Do you guys see that?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the only one I've
I mean,
seen.
that movie's fun for what it is.
Yeah.
But I remember when it came out, they were making it sound like, it was a big remake of the show, just set in the modern day as opposed to a Western.
Right.
And outside of him being a bounty hunter,
Right.
that's literally the only thing that it has in common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Did they it's been a while since I've seen it, but I've seen it multiple times, but it's probably been 17 years since I've seen it. Do they outright reference Steve McQueen's character in that film, or is it sort of like a passing reference?
He's supposed to be like his great grandson or something.
Right. But do they mention him by name in the film? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I saw that movie theatrically, and I don't think I saw sense.
Yeah, I remember when like they were publicizing the movie, they said that, but I didn't remember if they actually touched on it in the movie.
I remember seeing it on HBO back in the 80s.
The big draw for me was Gene Simmons being in it.
Yeah.
That's
The
when
other
he did a few movies.
the other show that I watched a lot when I was like it was on syndication was Wild Wild West.
Oh, I love that show.
Robert
Yeah.
Connor.
Yeah.
Movie was terrible, but the show was awesome.
Yeah, I want to get that box set. Every time that comes on, I do sit and watch that.
Robert Conrad was so cool when I was a kid. Between that show and Baba Black Sheep. Do you remember Baba Black Sheep?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or Black Sheep Squadron, I think they changed the title to it or whatever. But yeah.
I used to like him, and then he challenged Mr. Cotter in that race on Battle of the Network Stars, and everybody hated him.
Well, first he challenged us to knock this battery off.
Yeah, to herself. But you know what? Those commercials were cool.
Oh, yeah, they were cool.
Yeah, but what was I, 6?
Yeah.
But when he went after Mr. Cotter, man, Cotter was like huge. I was trying to explain to my nieces how huge that show was on Sunday. Because I do a blog on Facebook, just like a pop culture thing, and I put up. It was like Saturday Night Fever just came out. It was like the 50-something anniversary of Saturday Night Fever. No, well, Welcome Back, Kotter. Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah.
So my thing was, and this is what made John Travolta a star. And I had some moron like lather me. He was popular in Saturday Night Fever in Greece. I'm like, no, you moron. That's when he got those 2 movies. Because Kotter was 5. Yeah. And he's like, oh, no. And people are like literally going at this guy going, no, Kenny's right. He wouldn't have got, oh, no, you guys are just, I don't know these people.
I would have been like, hey, he was in the Devil's Reign and got his face melted off before then, man, you jackass.
And then somebody said, well, he was in The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. I'm like, this was right after when Cotter was popular.
The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was huge, man.
Yeah.
I looked it up. There was 28 million people that watched that show.
Dude, I got that fucking movie on DVD in there.
Do you really?
All right, you win. You win tonight.
Okay,
I'll
let me
remember
rephrase.
it, but
My wife has that movie on DVD in there. I'm going to take that out for our next episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was on Emergency.
That's great.
no, yeah.
That show was huge for me when I was a kid. I loved that show.
And
Adam 12. Yep.
And Adam 12. Yep.
I kind of put them together because
Wow.
in the early '80s when they had Nick at Night? It was like Adam 12, Emergency, then it was like Car 54. They all kind of like
Oh
lumped
yeah.
in at the same time.
Man, we are so off topic.
And Mr.
Oh,
Ed.
that's all right. That's all right.
We can
Mike's
play
like,
Patrick.
what the hell am I doing here? This ain't about westerns.
I had to throw Mr. Ed in there so we can get a horse in there somewhere.
Oh, remember when he slid home?
Huh?
That was great, Mr. Ed, when he slid home.
No, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? Oh, that
Dude,
was
I
great.
know of Mr. Ed. I think I might have seen maybe one episode of Mr. Ed. Now, Gus, the field kicking mule, I saw that shit at the drive-in.
That was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sean, you can read that comment because I ain't touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
Oh, here goes Swayze again.
Hey, he was in North and South.
And Patrick, did you notice they put Jim in the corner?
We're all in the corner.
Yeah. I remember the North and South. Like, I never watched it. I remember when it was on TV, though. It was like a big thing, you know.
That was
Two-night event, 3-night event or something.
Yeah, I watched that, of course, because I was married to my ex at the time, and she was in love with Patrick Swayze, so yeah, of course we watched. But as I recall, that was a pretty good miniseries for what it was. Eastwood guest starred on Mr. Ed. Are you kidding me?
Is that for real?
Wow.
If that's for real, I'm going to look that shit up.
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, wow.
I'll start watching Mr. Ed.
Yeah. Real.
The dog disagrees.
Yeah, he's like.
Now, Mike, would you consider Shogun a Western?
No,
Or
I
would that
don't
be-
know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'd probably put it more with in the kung fu category. Maybe
It's
I
an
don't-
Eastern.
like something.
Where's
something
Mr.
like that.
Dan at? Mr. Dan, would you consider Shogun a Western? He's my kung fu expert, Mr. Dan.
Clint Eastwood was in Francis in the Navy, but not Mr. Ed.
So Francis the Kick.
Oh, he was in Mr. Ed. There it is. One episode.
Wow.
1962.
That's hilarious.
He was.
Patrick, that's
No, that's Dan. That's a Dan.
Oh, Dan? Oh, that's
Yeah.
a Dan pull.
That's a
Yeah,
Dan
that's-
pull.
Great
that's a
job.
There you go. He was 1962.
That's why I love our community so much. People like Dan and Patrick and Mike. I mean, they know more about this shit than we do. Definitely more than I do. Trying to get this stupid vape pen to work. I'm trying to quit smoking. So
Well, that's good.
I kind of tried to switch over to this vape pen thing, and it's not really working. But I'm trying.
You should do the Uncle Buck 5-year plan. I'm on the cigars now. Then after 5 years, chewing tobacco.
Well, I started off with bongs. And then I went to joints, so I guess.
All right.
I think Mr. Dan was answering the Shogun question, more like an Eastern, with some similarities.
Mhm.
Were you talking about the new FX show, Kenny?
Well, I was basically. Isn't the new FX show basically like a lovingly comparable to the old Shogun?
The 1981 one with
Richard Chamberlain.
Yeah, Richard Chamberlain.
Which is based on a book, but I don't. Is the new one based on the book, or is it just like a reimagine? I haven't seen it, to be honest.
I don't know. I think because the old one was pretty short compared to this one, so I can only imagine that it's either way more detailed or they've added stuff to it. But I don't know. But the original book was by James Clavell, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched the original, but I have not watched the new one.
Yeah.
I've heard it's really, really good. It won a shit ton of Emmys a couple weeks ago.
Well, this is off subject too, but did y'all like Kung Fu? You know, the show.
Oh
Kung
yeah.
Fu?
Oh yeah.
Grasshopper. Yes.
Technically, that would be a Western, wouldn't it?
It's kind of It kind of takes place during that time period.
An
But
Eastern, and again, I consider that an Eastern set in the Old West.
yeah, East meets West or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, Kill Bill. Okay.
Mm.
To me, Kill Bill is like an Eastern and a Western. The first half of it is an Eastern. The second half of it is a Western, if that makes any kind of sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because the first one is
Tarantino.
just, the first one, it's all about her with the sword, chopping up everybody left and right. The fourth one is her being left for dead, coming back, having the showdown at the end. I mean, and it's basically set in the desert. You know, I mean, to me, that's what those two movies are. I mean, to me, it's just one big movie, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I still think that's the difference, Kenny, when you were like, you know, is Shogun a Western? Kill Bill, to me, is like an Eastern and a Western in the same movie. But they totally have different flavors.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Mike, I have a question for you. If you, like newbies like me and Sean, you're saying, recommend me five Western movies for a newbie out there to start. What would you start with?
Well, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I want to try to pick out some stuff like maybe the Searchers, maybe. I don't know. Because there's some offbeat ones that might be you might like better. But I'm thinking about like the big ones. You know, I know. The
offbeat ones could be like somebody. You know, a lot of people just don't like maybe like I'll say Fistful of Dollars, but they'll go for something like Mr. Dan has Red Sun here. Mm-hmm. That was a really good one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like Stagecoach, the first one with John Wayne, that's really good because you got a lot of characters in it.
Now, would you recommend like High Noon?
Yeah, I like High Noon. Brain fart.
How about Gunfight at the OK Corral?
Yeah, like that, and see, those seem like those are all like the the classics, like the main ones. I'm trying to think like they may be turned off, but yeah, like High Noon and Searchers, probably the Magnificent Seven, maybe even.
I remember as a little kid, Shane, Mr. Dan brought that up. I'd never seen the movie before, but I always, Shane, come back, Shane.
Well, I would say The Wild Bunch. That movie, we haven't talked about that, but that's a great movie. I mean,
I've seen that one.
I was going to mention is The Wild Bunch.
Yeah,
it's a great movie.
Sam Peckinpah.
Yeah, and you got to throw some Clint Eastwood in there. It's like, I don't know, pick one. It's like he's done a whole lot of good ones, and and then like Tombstone and stuff from the '90s. I'm trying to mix up like all the decades, like to get a feel for it. But yeah,
I think Mike, you did a video on Lee Marvin too. Lee Marvin did like a lot of good westerns.
Yeah, he did a lot of good. He did westerns, some good, like war type movies.
Lee Marvin was great in everything. He was.
There's a good movie that he's in, and Jack Palance called Monty. Was it Monty?
Monty Walsh.
Monty Walsh. Yeah, that's.
I bought that because of you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you like it? You didn't like it?
I really did enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, I don't know, man. I can't make a list worth a damn. Like favorites
on the spot.
Yeah, it's like, man, I got to think about that. But yeah, you got to start with some Clint Eastwood for sure, just because it kind of bridges the past and the present. because people now would know who he is more than likely. You know, and then they probably heard of John Wayne, so you throw any good number of movies that he's been in. But I don't know. I mean, is he? I don't know. Do young people look at John Wayne like he's a bad person now because he made comments about stuff? Or, I mean, what do you think he's considered now? Like,
I think a lot of young people know the name and they don't know anything else.
They just know their grandfather watched him a lot, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on who you ask and who they know and how they know him.
Mhm.
Because I know a lot of people know him because of those comments, because they've heard the name and they know he has some sort of historical significance. And then the first thing they hear is, oh, well, he made a bunch of racist comments back in the
70s
Playboy
in
interview.
Playboy magazine.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
And
Yeah, it's like his whole
okay,
life is canceled because of that one interview.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And I set it aside. I mean, there's a lot of people that I don't like who, you know, their music or their movies or whatever. And they were also assholes in their personal life. But, you know, sometimes you got to separate that stuff out. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I definitely don't have my, my thumb on the pulse of the young generation anymore.
Yeah.
If you don't know who John Wayne is, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that, and you know, there's some good new stuff being made, like Netflix. It seems like there's a lot of stuff popping up, and there's a lot of straight to video stuff that's been kind of interesting. You know, go to Walmart for like $5, and
Mm-hmm.
there's these straight to video ones, and some of those are pretty decent. Yeah, I think, you know, like we talked about earlier, westerns, you know, are they coming back?
Mhm.
Or, and stuff, and I think they are, but I hope there's some good classics are made out of this new crop. You know, that it's not just like, well, we tried that and none of them were any good, so we'll never do westerns again or something. You know, it's like, because like in the '90s, you know, some good stuff came out, like Dances with Wolves, which made the big epic western popular, and you know, Clint Eastwood still doing his thing, and Tombstone and some different stuff, and then, you know, it kind of ebbs and flows in the western genre, I guess. But I don't think it's ever disappeared completely. I think
Mm-mm.
you know, if it's got a good script, good actors, you know, some kind of direction, maybe a premise that's interesting, then it can still be something. You know, like the Coen brothers did, was it The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which was, it was pretty cool. It was kind of an anthology of different stuff, but it was pretty interesting how they did that and stuff like that.
Who were they, Patrick? He says he interviewed stars from 2 new westerns recently.
One of them was Corin Nemec, I think.
Okay.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And The Stand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure his new project is a western. But these things are cyclical because, again, I remember in the 80s they were talking about the westerns were dead. And then Silverado and Pale Rider both came out in 85.
Yep.
And neither one of them were big hits. And then they were saying they were dead again. And then, like what you were saying, early 90s, Dances with Wolves, and these other movies that you mentioned came out. And then they got big again. And then they kind of started to slow down again. And then a couple of years, you know, early aughts, they did the remake of 3:10 to Yuma,
Yep.
which did pretty well. They did the remake of Magnificent Seven not too long ago, which I didn't like. But, you know, most people who haven't seen the original probably loved it, you know, so whatever. It wouldn't surprise me if that's going to be the next wave of westerns. It's going to be remakes because that's what everything is now. If it's not a remake, it's a recycled version of something. You know what I mean? And I think that's what they're going to, if there's going to be a market for westerns, I think that's probably where it's going to start. And then one of them will hit, and then it'll start to rise up again. And then it'll start to cool off again. Like you said, you know, it ebbs and flows.
Right. Which really isn't all that different from what we were talking about earlier, because we were talking about how Magnificent Seven was basically a remake of Seven Samurai,
Yeah.
and
That
so
movie's been remade 5 times.
yeah, so it's that's cyclical too. So that's pretty cool.
There's
Um,
there was a newer western. It's had Ethan Hawke and John Travolta. It's called In the Valley of something. That
Yeah.
that was pretty
I know the
decent.
one you're talking about.
Yeah,
That's a Ty West movie, isn't it, or something
yeah,
like that?
Ty West. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if the right people are involved, I mean, there can be some good stuff. Plus, a lot of the actors we kind of grew up with are now getting older. They kind of fit that mold of they could play a really older Western type of person, which people have been doing and stuff.
Well, they were still making them. I mean, unfortunately, the Alec Baldwin incident was on the set of a Western.
right,
Rust or whatever. That was supposed to be a Western. And I'm hoping that doesn't cool off the idea of Hollywood trying to produce them, because people might kind of associate one with the other. Because there was a lot of backlash to like comic book movies and such after The Crow, until other than Batman, that was like, you could, if it was a major comic book property, you can get away with it. But anything like an R-rated, hard-edge type action movie along those lines, Hollywood was a little bit afraid for a little while to make movies like that,
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in this day and age, more than ever, Hollywood's a business. It's all about money, and if they don't think it's worth the risk, they're not going to do it.
Well, one thing we were talking about, with movies being cheap to make back in the old days of Hollywood, Westerns were cheap. They could make them very easy. I think that's one thing that you're seeing with direct-to-video too now. Like if you go to Walmart and look in the bins at Walmart or the new releases even, you'll see a lot of the new releases that are coming out are Westerns. As well as cheapo horror films, because they're fairly easy to make. I mean, you get yourself a couple of horses and you go to a local, a local farm park, and you can kind of come up with your own little Western. They may not necessarily be good, but they're still being made. So I don't think they'll ever go away completely.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot of like special effects and stuff or anything.
Yeah.
You do a lot of practical stuff. So yeah, if you got a standing set, some costumes, the right backdrop, I mean, yeah, you could turn Westerns out just like that, and that's what they did back 90 years ago or something. So I don't know.
Yep, absolutely.
The same thing with horror movies, get some blood, get some this and this, and you can make a decent horror movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and with some imagination and some decent writing, I mean, you could come up with a fairly decent concept that might just be original enough to kind of break the mold and be a hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Patrick's just said about Trace Atkins, the country singer. He's in like 30 or 40 of these direct-to-video Westerns, man. He's in like every new Western made. It's like,
Nicholas Cage just came out with one, The Old Way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that in the theater.
That's pretty decent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah, I was surprised. My local theater had it they showed it for a week, so I went up and saw it. And I was like, man, I can't believe I'm at a theater, 1, seeing a Western, and 2, seeing a Nicolas Cage Western in a theater.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it works, get somebody like, a star. I mean, not so much. Bruce Willis would be good, but not so much now because of his health. But you get a Bruce Willis or a Nicolas Cage or somebody like that, and put them with a director that's got a good concept and stuff, and it can be a hit. And most of the budget's going to the star, anyway. So it's like,
right.
Have you guys seen the trailer that just dropped? I think yesterday, called Sinners.
Mm-mm.
It's the new Ryan Coogler movie with Michael B. Jordan.
No, I haven't.
It's a vampire movie, okay, but it looks like it's a period piece, and it might even be like have Western vibes in it. I mean,
no shit.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw like a little teaser for it today, and it looks really interesting. It's coming out in March, I think.
Okay. I'll
So
put
that's
that on the
something.
list to check that
Again,
out.
I'm not sure if it's a Western or not. I don't, but it's definitely a period piece, and it has to do with the Klan and Michael B. Jordan playing a vampire. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, I'll
That
have to look
sounds
that
cool.
up. Yeah.
Ryan Coogler
Yeah.
wrote and directed it.
Yeah. And him and Michael B. Jordan work a lot together.
Yeah.
They have been since the beginning. Fruitvale Station.
Yeah, it's set in the 1930s.
Okay, so maybe it's not a Western, but
Haley
it definitely
Steinfeld's
looked like
in it.
it definitely looked like a period piece of some kind.
Yeah, 1930s Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so something like that.
Yeah, I mean the trailer didn't really give much away, but it looked interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, guys, we're getting up to the 15-minute time, and this is usually where we do our movie recommendations. And since we've got 4 of us tonight, it might take a little while to get through them all. So I thought we'd start with Kenny tonight.
All
and
right.
He'll do his Kenny's Tubi movie of the week.
Not a sponsor yet. And mine is from 1966, The War of the Gargantuas. It's just a really fun movie. It's an hour and 32 minutes. You kind of leave your head, brain at the door, and you just enjoy it. Ishiro Honda directed it. It's really good. It's one that I remember watching in the early days, like on the shock theaters and stuff like that. And it's just a really good, fun movie. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy it too.
Cool. Thank you, Kenny.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I love that movie, Kenny.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but they used to play it on Creature Feature all the time.
Creature Feature.
It was like a green one and an orange one or something, right?
The green one and the brown one.
Yeah. I loved that movie when I was a kid.
Yeah, I like the little Asian woman teaching them to drink milk, from the straw and stuff. It's so fun.
That was supposed to be the sequel to Frankenstein versus the World, I believe.
No kidding. Okay.
Frankenstein conquers the world, right?
Conquers the world. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But they kind of altered it a little bit and they kind of toned down the sequel portion of it. But yeah. Good pick. Highly recommend that one too.
Very good pick.
Jim, you got a pick this week?
Yeah, actually, when Kenny was talking, I ran in the room and grabbed one real fast. So, we were talking about vampire. We were talking about westerns all night. I decided to go with a vampire comedy western called, if I can keep it in there, Sundown: The Vampire in Retreat. This is from 1990, and it stars everybody. David Carradine, friggin' M. Emmett Walsh, Bruce Campbell, Deborah Foreman, everybody and their brothers in this movie. And it's, like I said, it's a comedy horror western where the vampires are trying to go legit. And at one point they start shooting at each other with bullets that have wood tips. Much fun to be had. B movie at best, but it's a lot of fun. So Sundown: The Vampire in Retreat is my recommendation this week.
That's a great one.
All right. Mike, I'll put you on the spot last.
Okay. I'll go with what I was talking about earlier, Tall in the Saddle. I'll just stay with the Western thing.
Okay.
Tall in the Saddle with John Wayne, which I'll bring up a picture of it. Can't think of right offhand where I have it. Tall in the Saddle, and it's a 1944 film, and it is. Let's see here. How long is this thing?
Hour and 27 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So it's not very long. It's it's black and white. It's got a great cast, and it's one of those movies. I don't know. You'll definitely like it. You may love it. But you'll definitely like it. You probably won't hate it. So I'll recommend. You probably won't hate it, but so I'll just go with.
If we do, we're coming in the torches, you know, at your house.
I didn't show it, but yeah, Tall in the Saddle. I'll go with that.
All right, Tall in the Saddle.
And I think it is streaming. I think it's on. It might be on Tubi or there's even a Western channel that just shows Western app if you got Roku or something, and I know it's on there too. So I think it's easy to find.
I'll look it up right now and I'll tell you.
All I know is when you were giving that recommendation, all I could picture was like a video box with a blurb on there saying Mike's DVD and Blu-rays collection. You probably won't hate it.
You probably won't hate it.
Yeah, it's not streaming anywhere right now. You can rent it though from Apple TV, Vudu, and Prime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you got Roku, I think it's on. There's a one of those apps you can download for free. There's an all Western app, I think, and
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's on there, but you'll have to sit through some commercials here and there. But unless you pay for the upgraded version,
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. I wrote that one down too.
I did too.
Yeah. Thank you,
I
Mike.
wrote it down earlier.
Okay.
All right. Mine is a movie from 2023 called Your Lucky Day. It was directed and written by Dan Brown. And it's about a kind of a showdown hostage situation that takes place in a convenience store over a winning lottery ticket. I don't want to give too much away. It's got a couple of goofy twists and turns. If you think about it too long, you'll ruin it because it's one of those movies that probably has 10,000 plot holes in it if you think about it for too long, but it's pretty entertaining. It's got quite a bit of action, a little bit of gore. But the main draw for me was a performance by Angus Cloud, who apparently, I didn't know this, passed away. And a lot of people know him from, he was in Abigail and Euphoria, the TV series. I never knew anything about him. I had not seen Abigail yet. But he's actually pretty good in it as the main. He starts off as a bad guy, then he might turn into a good guy maybe. But it's kind of entertaining. I actually just saw it on the shelf at Walmart and picked it up. But now it's on Netflix. So definitely check out Your Lucky Day. It's not a masterpiece. I don't want to copy your line, Mike, but it's fun. I gave it 3.5 stars, and it's not the greatest movie in the world, but I enjoyed it.
And you might not hate it, right?
Yeah, you might not hate
it. You probably won't hate it.
You probably
that does sound good. I'll have to look at that.
Cool.
One. And then what was the one that you picked, Kenny?
I picked War of the Gargantuans.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that is on Tubi.
Okay.
Yeah, Kenny's always on Tubi.
I am always on Tubi.
Yeah.
You've got to get a sponsorship deal, dude.
Man,
yeah,
I'm trying.
Yeah, because when I think about Tubi, I think of Kenny.
I go in there and I find like stuff like if I'm watching like your guys' videos or Stuart from the UK or especially Mr. Dan with like all the karate movies and stuff like that, the martial arts. I find them on Tubi, and Dan's sort of like me. It's like we'll go on Tubi and YouTube to like look for stuff, and especially like when you were bringing up a lot of those, Mike, not off the subject, but the film noir. When you were doing the film noir ones, I was finding a lot of them that I was watching on YouTube. I mean, the picture just reminds you of like when you were up at like 12:30 at night, 1982. The pictures were grainy, but you know what? Those were meant to be like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. I like that too. So that poor kid, he died from a drug overdose, Sean.
Yeah. That sucks. But
what was the one that you picked? I'm sorry, Sean. Jim, what did you pick again? I didn't write it down.
Sundown.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The
Yeah,
Vampire in Retreat.
Okay, yeah, I do have that one. I have
Yeah, that one's on
actual edition.
Vestron.
Yeah, I got that one. So yeah.
And that's a really goofy movie, but it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And it's got a great cast. So many great character actors in that movie.
Yeah, I think I'll throw that in with my Halloween watches for this. October.
Yeah, that would be appropriate with that too. We gotta have you back, Mike, to do that to what you watched like during the spooky season kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get Dan on here sometime for horror movies too.
Yeah.
I was just going to say we're going to have 2 shows in October. Obviously, we're going to be talking about horror movies next month. So, Mike, would you come back for one of those?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I like kung fu movies a lot too, like Mr. Dan, and I like horror movies too. You know, I like a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, I like a lot of stuff.
Is there any genre you don't like?
I don't know. Musicals. I like some musicals, but not a big fan of musicals.
Okay, well, the next show we're doing a special on musicals. How would you like to come on?
Okay, yeah, I'll set that one out.
Two solid hours on cabaret and Dirty Dancing.
No, I do.
Dancing and the Jazz Singer.
It's a show.
The Jazz Singer. You gotta love Neil.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm just busting your balls, Mike. Thank you so much, man. You're awesome.
Yeah. No, thanks for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
And somebody asked, Patrick, this was a long time ago. Sorry, Patrick, I didn't see your comment. Ever see Purgatory from 2005-ish?
Sounds familiar.
I never.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't. Does not ring a bell.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, we'd have to look that one up. Purgatory.
Don't worry, Mike. If they do a special about musicals, I'll probably skip that episode too.
Be sick that day.
Yeah, I won't be here either, so don't worry about
it. They all look to Kenny.
I think I'll do just 2 hours on the great Neil Diamond performance in Jazz Singer, and the one that made John Travolta famous in Grease.
Yeah.
Throw some Dirty Dancing clips and some Britney Spears clips in there for me and Sean, and
there you go.
Yeah.
Patrick, was that with Sam Shepard and Eric Roberts, 1999? Does that ring a bell? He'll get back to us hopefully in the next 2 minutes because we're getting ready to sign off. So thanks so much tonight for coming on, Mike. We really appreciate it. It's good to talk to you.
No problem.
Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah. Anytime I can help give some useless information to people, I'm down.
That is the one and only purpose of this show.
Yeah, we excel at that.
Yeah. No, I had fun, guys.
Yeah, we're glad to hear that, and we did too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great.
Don't mind me speaking for you guys too.
No, absolutely great having you here.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, so I guess we'll wrap it up for tonight. Like I said, for those people who are not watching live, we will be doing some shows in October about horror. We'll get some topics ready, but we'll try and get Mike on for at least one of them. So we're doing shows. What would it be? That would be the 8th and the 22nd of October. So clear your schedules. All right. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll sign off and have a good night.
Have a great night, guys.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah. See you, Kenny, Sean, Jan.
See you.
All right.
Take care.
We'll see you.
Night, John boy.
Wish I could do that.